सोचो और मेरे ख्याल भी तेरी नजर से ओझल नहीं,
तेरी नजर से ओझल नहीं।
मुझे मुझसे ज्यादा तू जानता, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
मुझे मुझसे ज्यादा तू जानता, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
ये पहाड़ टीले कायनात टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू।
ये पहाड़ टीले कायनात टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू।
टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू। तेरी हस्ती को नहीं ज़वाल, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
तेरी हस्ती को नहीं ज़वाल, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
ऐ मालिक दो जहां के, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
तेरे जैसा कोई कहीं ना, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल। तेरे जैसा कोई कहीं ना, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
तेरे जैसा कोई कहीं ना, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
ऐ मालिक दो जहां के,
तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
तेरे जैसा कोई कहीं ना, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल। तेरी कुदरत और कमाल दे, जो चुप रहे लब मेरे। तेरी कुदरत और कमाल देख, जो चुप रहे लब मेरे।
जो चुप
जरा जरा तू अपनी जात में
मेरी सोच और मेरे ख्याल भी तेरी नजर से ओझल नहीं।
मेरी सोच और मेरे ख्याल भी तेरी नजर से ओझल नहीं।
तेरी नजर से ओझल नहीं।
मुझे मुझसे ज्यादा तू जानता, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
मुझे मुझसे ज्यादा तू जानता, तू अपनी जात में
ये पहाड़ टीले कायनात टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू।
ये पहाड़ टीले कायनात टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू।
टल जाए भी तो कायम है तू। तेरी हस्ती को नहीं ज़वाल, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
तेरी हस्ती को नहीं ज़वाल, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
ऐ मालिक दो जहां के, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल। तेरे जैसा कोई कहीं ना, तू अपनी जात में बेमिसाल।
Hello, hello. Thank you for joining us. Now we have a welcome video by Anna. Go ahead, sweetheart, roll the video.
Have you ever wished that you could meet the heroes from the Bible? And have you ever wondered how you would respond if faced with persecution for your faith? My name is Anna Townsend, and in my book, Our Sisters, I introduce you to remarkable girls in and from Pakistan who have endured unimaginable hardships simply because their Christian faith makes them extremely vulnerable. All of these women were in hiding or on the run when I interviewed them for my book, and they had no idea what the future held. Yet they were eager to share with me what had happened to them, so that their stories could be read and the injustices that they had experienced could be exposed. In Our Sisters, I also tell the stories of courageous activists who are standing up for these girls. They are journalists, pastors, lobbyists, and charity workers. These fearless and fascinating men and women are Christian believers engaged in the fight to rescue persecuted Christians. To me, they are modern-day heroes, and by reading Our Sisters, I hope you'll come to know and admire them as much as I do. It is my hope that Our Sisters will both inspire and challenge you to join in this vital mission. God continues to work around the world, and you too can be part of this ongoing story.
Well, welcome everyone. People are filing in here. So happy that you've joined us. I'm Jenny Yeager. I'm here in Huntsville, Alabama. And of course, probably most, if not everyone, knows Anna. Anna, you want to introduce
Yes,
yourself?
yeah. And I'm in Gloucester. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You're there in Gloucester. And for all of us Americans, you know, that's actually in England. So what time zone are you in right now, right? We were talking about the fact that you had a change last night, I guess, Anna?
Yeah, so we're in GMT, and I can see some folks who have joined from Belgium who are coming.
Oh, great. So wave at the camera if you're in GMT time as well.
Oh, GMT. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greenwich Mean Time. That's awesome. And how about, let's see, I'm trying to look through here. Anybody in Central Time here in America with me? Maybe one. My mom in here somewhere, I think. And anybody else? Any other time zones?
We've got Belgium and Germany, and I think I've just seen Miriam join, and she's in Madeira right now. So she's.
Hi, Miriam.
Yeah.
And we've got a hand waving through the air. I love it. Oh my goodness, all the things you can do on Zoom. Awesome, awesome. Well, we really appreciate y'all being here. So glad you joined. I'm really privileged to be able to have this great conversation with Anna. Anna and I have been having a lot of great conversations over the years, and I'm sure this one will not disappoint. Great conversation about her new book, Our Sisters, and we'll jump into that. So what this will look like, we'll be talking for about an hour. And you'll have some time to put questions into the chat. We'll have a question and answer time at the end, and we'll get to as many questions as we can.
Yeah, within the hour. I'll just say that. We're
within the hour.
Within the hour.
Yep, the whole hour. Yeah, we'll get those questions at the end for sure. So put them into the chat anytime you'd like. As we go along here. And we've got our fabulous husbands in the background doing videos and monitoring those questions. So thank you, Todd and Simon. So Anna and I met actually when they were stationed here in Huntsville, Alabama, 7 years ago, which is crazy to think it's been 7 years. Oh my goodness. And we've had the I don't know, privilege, craziness of doing a lot of Zooms almost weekly for since COVID anyway. And so that's what I mean. We've had a lot of conversations. You know, as an Army wife, of course, you know, Anna's moved a lot, and that's one kind of where I wanted to start, just with a question about that. How has that shaped your perspective? I mean, we've had conversations, I'm sure a lot of folks who have talked with you have had conversations about your unique perspective, having lived here in crazy America and lots of different places. What do you think that has done to affect your writing and, you know, just the books that you've created?
Yeah, so many people who've joined right now I've met through moving around with the Army. In fact, I can barely remember a time now when I wasn't moving around with the Army. So hi to everybody that's met me at a posting. Yeah, I mean, I think most people probably know that it was the Army that took us out to Nepal in the first place. And that led to me setting up a charity 20 years ago, which makes me feel very old when I set up a charity 20 years ago. Yeah, so that's Women Without Roofs. And then back in 2020, we were sent out to Nepal again. And that was when I wrote my first book, Come With Me to Kathmandu. I've got a copy here. Come With Me to Kathmandu. Thank you. So, yeah, following that book, in that book, I interviewed 12 different women, and they all have different stories. And one of the women, a lady called Maria in the book, she had been forced to marry her rapist. And that really was my kind of starting point for this next book. I first learned about Maria's story around 2010 when I was visiting Nepal. And just the idea of a woman having to marry the man that had raped her just kind of blew my mind in a way. And I just couldn't imagine a society that thought this would be a good idea. And then at some time after 2010, I guess, I went to New Wine, which is a Christian festival, which I know lots of people here will have been to New Wine. And just in the worship sessions there, you tangibly feel the Holy Spirit in these worship sessions, and just couldn't, as I was worshiping, couldn't kind of forget this story of Maria and her having to marry her rapist. So I left New Wine determined really to research other instances and find out where this happened, and began doing that, and then quickly found out that really Pakistan is where it happens. It's a form of persecution against Christian girls there. They are taken by Muslim men, abducted, raped, and then forced to marry these men. And it is particularly, as I said, targeting against Christian girls. So I knew since about 2011, 2012 that I wanted to do something to make a difference to these women, and that's led really to the writing of this book.
Okay. Well, how was the posting in Belgium? How did that affect things?
Yeah, so Belgium came at a funny time. Those that knew Simon and I before then know that we'd never really sort of talked about going to Belgium. It was not on our kind of wish list, much as we love Belgium now, but it was not our first choice. But God had a plan. So just as I'd finished Come With Me to Kathmandu, in fact, before I'd even launched the book and done a launch like this, I was already thinking and preparing and had it in my mind to write this book about Christians in Pakistan. And of course, I ended up living near Brussels, which is where heaps of lobbyists are located that are campaigning for freedom of religion and belief. And so I was right on their doorstep and able to speak to them. So it was fantastic. God really had a plan and worked amazingly. So within the 3 years we've just left Belgium, that I was living there, I met lots of people and made useful contacts. And the girls on the run in Pakistan, I have since visited Pakistan. I wasn't able to visit them interview them in Pakistan, because most of them were on the run. It would be very dangerous for me to turn up and interview them. Sure. So, yeah, being in Belgium was just perfect for interviewing them over Zoom, doing more Zoom.
Can't have enough Zoom in your life. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you. Here in a second, we're going to hear from your publisher. That have a great video about that. And for anybody here in America, I do have Anna's previous book, Come With Me to Kathmandu, and her new book, Our Sisters, which we'll jump into here in a bit more. I'm happy to make arrangements and get those to you. Anna, how else can people buy your books?
Yeah, directly from me is good. I have a Ko-fi page where you can order them directly from me. And that's the best way for me to get money to organizations in Pakistan and Nepal, that I make the most money from that. But I understand that isn't the cheapest way. Amazon is cheaper. Eden Books, that's a Christian bookseller in the UK, they are cheaper than buying directly from me. But if you want to order from me and put a little bit more towards Pakistan and Nepal, then that's the best way.
Great. Okay. Thank you. All right. Now we're going to hear from the publisher.
Hi Anna, it's Rachel from Authentic Media here. Congratulations on the launch of your new book, Our Sisters. We're really pleased that we've reached Pub Day. As always, it's been a pleasure to work with you, and we're really privileged to work with you on this one because we feel it is such an important book. When we first read this, well, me personally, I was really shocked and appalled by some of the stories, but also very moved, and it had a real impact on me. And I think, well, I know that situation happens, but I hadn't really understood the personal cost of it, or how widespread it was, or even, if I'm being honest, what it had to do with me. So I think this book was a real revelation in that sense. And I think where you talk about being our sisters and being as Christian sisters in Christ, that we need to be in solidarity with them, that really struck a chord. And I think as Authentic Media, we really understood that and wanted to play our very, very small part in publishing this book to help get that message out. So we're delighted to work with you on that endeavour. And I just want to thank you, Anna, for your absolute sensitivity of the way that you've handled those interviews. You know, we know from your previous book that that's a real gift of yours, but it really comes across in these really difficult stories, just the empathy you have and the way you've managed to draw out those stories. And because of that, you've made that whole issue personal and understandable in a way that just giving off facts and figures doesn't always do. So to get the actual real stories of people involved in this coming off the page in such a vibrant way is just really helping everyone to really understand those issues. So as I say, we really hope and pray that this book will challenge people, it will inspire people, it will drive people to pray and act on the issues involved. And as I say, it's a real privilege to be able to work with you on this one. We know your heart and passion for this is so deep. It's not just writing a book, this is absolutely, you know, your heart of what God has given you. And we just really pray that that will bear fruit in the world, that as this book goes out, that God's will be done, and that people's lives will be changed, and this issue can be broken in Jesus' name, for those people to be free. So we wish you every blessing on the book. We pray that it will do what God wants it to do. And yeah, so congratulations again from all of the Authentic Media. We've loved working with you, and yeah, we just pray that God's hand will be on this book now. Thank you. Bye.
I think you're still
There we go. There we go. Technical issues, we've got that. Well, great. It was great to hear from your publisher. And yeah, I echo what you're saying. You know, reading the book, it's you know, lot of very concerning things. I think one thing that really jumped out at me there was the blasphemy laws, Pakistan's blasphemy laws, and just how it kind of sets things up for this to be you know, an ongoing issue. And can you talk about that a bit? Kind of tell us, you know, how they're misused against Christians and kind of the impact on the daily lives of folks?
Yeah, so so blasphemy really is when you speak against in Pakistan, is when you speak against the Prophet or the Quran or kind of Muslims in general, and the punishments are just huge. They're life imprisonment or 25 years imprisonment, and then there's also the death penalty as well. And these blasphemy laws were initially set up by us British. We are to blame for them. And we set them up in the 1800s really to protect all the different minorities in India that we were governing at the time. But what's happened over time is that the majority religion, Islam in Pakistan, is now using them to control the minorities in its country. So it's not just Christian girls that are affected by this issue. That's what I've written about, but it's also Hindu girls and some also Muslim minorities who are kind of not seen as real Muslims. They're also targeted with this forced rape and abduction. Okay. So the blasphemy laws really, you might end up saying the wrong thing, or somebody might threaten you with a blasphemy allegation. But basically what this does is create a very weak minority, very vulnerable minority of Christians in Pakistan who are scared to really do anything that might upset the Muslims around them. So they are just treading a very fine line all the time. And how I describe it in the book is like a room of laser beams. So if you imagine those films like Mission Impossible, where Tom Cruise drops from the ceiling and there's all these laser beams crossing the room and he's kind of got to get through it, and of course he usually does. But Christians in Pakistan are like that. They are stuck still and scared of doing the slightest action that will break one of these laser beams and just trigger an enormous response from their local Muslim community who would accuse them of blasphemy. And so the women that I've written about, they are victims of this because they're just so vulnerable. And what I hadn't realized before writing about this is how popular the blasphemy laws are. So I think we look at them and think, oh gosh, isn't that silly? Just for saying the wrong thing, we could end up in prison. Whereas the average person on the street in Pakistan actually thinks that is justified. They feel that it's a good thing to do. And in the period of writing the book, the blasphemy laws were strengthened. So if you now say anything against the wives of the Prophet, you can be imprisoned or put onto death row. So,
Okay.
yeah, they're very strong.
Okay. And so that's definitely one of the common themes, I'm guessing, from with the girls that have experienced. What other things have you discovered that are common for the girls that you've interviewed, common themes that have been abducted?
Yeah, so first off is just how young they are. Usually they're about 15 or 16. And the man who takes them, it's usually a group, but it's usually initiated by a man who knows them or is known to the family. And so he's able to get them on their own. Either he comes into their house and somehow manages to catch the girl when she's there alone, or he perhaps offers to take her shopping and then she has to leave the house. And again, because of these blasphemy laws, she doesn't want to upset him by saying no to going shopping. So after that, there's usually some sort of drugs involved. They administer something maybe like chloroform to them. The girls pass out, and then that's when they're whipped away and taken somewhere remote. And then the man and usually a gang of men will rape them. Following that, once the girls are kind of subdued and in their control, they take her off to a willing imam, a religious leader there, who will then produce a certificate of conversion and marriage. And then the girl remains in their hands. So I tell 5 stories in the book that are like that. Yes, sadly, all very, very similar. The family back at home, once the girl goes missing, tries to register her as missing with the police, and often has problems even doing that because the police won't listen to Christians. So they are really difficult stories, but I have to add that within the book, there's about 7 stories of activists and the things that they're doing to help. So I hope to have given some balance, so some really some understanding into the, what these girls have gone through, but also some hope there as well.
Yeah, it's definitely lots of hope in the book as I've read through it. Yeah, what the advocates are doing, and we'll get into that with your amazing encounter with Joseph here in a second. But I did want to just circle back around. Once the girls escape, what does that kind of look like afterwards? All the girls that you've talked with had escaped, and yeah, just wondered what that looks like.
Yeah, so once they've escaped, they can't really go back home because they've got a target on their backs. One girl was actually abducted again once she'd gone back, because these families do believe, the Muslim families do believe, that they are married to the men. So they go and move from family to family and relatives that they might know, trying to find a safe place. It's very uncertain for them. Their parents have to give up their jobs. Older brothers and sisters maybe have to give up their jobs too. All of them have given up their schooling, and they remain extremely vulnerable. And that's where the activists come in. But so if they can get the marriage annulled, that's great. If they can get lawyers involved. And then there's also the material needs, since they've lost their jobs, the families, they provide a safe place for them to hide and live out. But it's very hard for their communities. The people want to take them in, other Christian families, but that also puts a target on their backs.
The lasers, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And in a second here, we're going to listen to an interview that you had with Joseph. But can you talk about the significance of that meeting with him and his report that he did with abductions and forced marriages? He's quite the figure.
Okay. Well, this is one of the miracles, real big miracles in the book, because I managed to wangle myself a ticket to the European prayer breakfast at the European Parliament, kind of, I suppose, hoping to meet European lobbyists who are campaigning on this issue. But I I went to the breakfast, and then afterwards there's this like a panel discussion in one of the big European conference rooms. And so I made my way up there, and the European Parliament building is massive. It took about 10 minutes to get from the breakfast room up to this panel discussion room. But I got to the discussion room and realized I'd left something behind down in the breakfast room. So I had a real sort of panic, and I was all flustered and rushed down to the breakfast room, but then headed back up to the panel and the discussion room really quickly. You know, when you're just really out of breath and everything, and jumped in the lift to go up to the room. And there was this Pakistani man in this lift, and he was just talking about a recent trip he'd had to Pakistan and some work he was doing. And so I just very forwardly for myself put a notebook in front of him and a pen and said, write your name down. You know, I'm writing a book, I'm thinking of it. I hadn't written a word by this point about Pakistan, and took his number. And yeah, it was just really incredible, because it turned out at the end of this discussion, he then stood up in front of all these European parliamentarians and just lambasted them for their trade agreements with Pakistan and why they were letting girls be abducted and raped and forcibly married, and what was the European Parliament going to do about it. So I was just amazed that I'd already got his name and number. He was then a little bit mobbed and a little bit of a celebrity for tackling this in the European Parliament. And yeah, from there, I then went on to write the book. And he had just written this lengthy report with 100 case studies of girls that had been taken, which then provided me all basically the raw material that I needed to then write the book. So it was miraculous. Anyway, that's who you're going to hear from in the next video.
So miraculous. That was just amazing. I remember having a conversation after. It's like, God did what?
I was a little bit shaky afterwards. It's like,
right. Right. It's like, okay, because you hadn't written it yet. I mean, it was just,
exactly.
But it was such confirmation, right? Like,
absolutely.
That he was doing that. So he has a chapter in the book, right?
Yeah, I think it's the third chapter is a book about him and his story, so there's even more miracles. I can't even tell you them all now. You have to read the book.
There's so many more miracles. Absolutely. All righty. Well, we'll jump into it here, but in just 1 second, don't forget to put your questions into the chat. We'll have some time coming up here in a few minutes after the video. So maybe the video will make you think of some questions. We do have a question or two, but yeah, we'd love to hear your questions as well. All righty, and now we're going to listen to the video.
Hi, Joseph. It's really great to see you today. You've been such a big part of the book writing process and have helped me so much, and I'm enormously grateful. I know that lots of people that have read the book already are really anxious to hear from you and to get your views. So we first met at the EU at the Parliament building, and I know you've also visited the UN, and just this week you were at the Vatican. So what is it that you're doing in all of these big and important places?
So yes, first of all, congratulations for such a nice and amazing book, and becoming the voice of persecuted church and persecuted Christians, as you have been the voice in Nepal and other countries, and especially this time for Pakistan. And I'm very happy for this. And yes, we met at the European Parliament, I think in 2023. And that's where we were talking about the persecuted church, and the topic was minority girls who have been abducted, forcefully converted to Islam, and married off with their abductors, and how Sharia laws are getting applied, how these girls are brutally taken from their parents, and how these girls are traumatized, never return. So police and courts living in Pakistan with these cases, it seems like now this has become a trend. Every single person find it easy target and abduct these girls, and make their somebody to use these minor girls. And these poor parents, when they go to the police station, when they go to the courts, they do not get any sub-legal or due process support from them. It seemed like these police and courts are playing the role of the facilitator in order to converting these girls from Christianity to Islam. And they make these illegal child marriages legal when it comes to their territory, when it comes to their office. And that's what I wanted to bring this to European Parliament, where we met, and bring the attention to international community at the European Parliament, together with European parliamentarians, to talk to Pakistan, to dialogue with Pakistan, as Pakistan has the obligations and signed treaties with international conventions here at the European Parliament and at the United Nations, to put pressure and bring some relief to these victims. So that's what we bring, the stories of these suffering girls, families, who stories of the girls who have been abducted, and what the courts is going, what the police is doing, how families is suffering, and how we are going into Pakistan to help them with the legal, and what challenges we face. And if the parliament can give us some relief, that's what we do.
Yeah, so that really brings us on to my second question, which is, what is it that you do when you're visiting Pakistan?
So these girls, Anna, as you have written many stories in your book, right? This is amazing stories. And the book explained what trauma these girls, what torture these girls, and how Christian parents lost their daughters simply because their neighbor, who is Muslim, have harassed and has taken this girl, and parents has no right to bring these girls back. And the story of that you wrote in the book, for example, story of Roshni, Zarvia, and the story of Rashida, many stories, that amazing stories that you have written in the book. So we, as I mentioned, we have been ignored by the police. We have been ignored by the court, judicial system. So I go back to Pakistan, and we try to help with the victims, and try to find ways, in a word I could finish it up like rescue missions, to bring these girls from slavery to freedom. So that's why we comfort the families, get engaged with the legal battle on the ground, engage top lead lawyers, go with the families, rescue these girls, bring these girls, and bring these girls back to their families and to safe place. And after that, we also help them with trauma healing, for they have faced, and all trauma centers, and they're reestablishing their lives so on the ground. And this is not easy. It's very, we have seen very horrible stories, and people can read in the book, I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you. And it's so obvious whenever I speak to you how passionate you are about these women, about their safety, and how much you are longing for change to come. So how can we pray for you?
Well, this is very important question. It's very nice that this is what you can pray, because prayer is the one which break the chain, right? I'm not talking about only written about reading the stories from the social media, because I'm talking because of the experience that my own family have faced and have experienced. My own sister, she was sentenced to death, and she was on a death row for 8 years. And she said only thing was, when there was no lawyer, there was nobody due to the fear to come to visit her because of blasphemy charges, and nobody was able to come. She was all alone, lying on the floor in the darkness of the cell and praying to the Lord. And that was the only her hope, right? And speaking with the Lord. And at one point, God answered her prayers at his time, and prayers, she was set free. The chain of the death sentence and the prison were broken, and she was set free. And that's the answer of our prayers, and the pressure, and the dialogue, and result of our advocacy that we bring to the European Union and United Nations. So I would say that the prayer is a very important tool in this. Church must pray for me, for the rescue missions, and especially for those who are victims, suffering. They are traumatized and in pain, so they need their comforts, and especially that they should not think that they are forgotten. The persecuted church is not forgotten by our brothers and sisters in internationally, and that they are in our prayers. Pray for the justice in Pakistan, so that there is justice for these families, right? Pray for reforms, implementation of international laws. So these are, I think, prayers. If we continue prayer, we have been able to rescue some of the girls that you can read in the people can read in the book, right? And we continue fight and struggle and go back and put our lives on the line to bring these girls back.
Yeah, I think you forgot to say that you have had death threats yourself, so you're very selfless, thinking of others, but I know that it's not easy for you and not always safe. So yes, we will definitely be praying for you. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope that we keep in touch. Thank you.
Sure.
There we are. Wow, how powerful. A lot going on there. You know, just
he's an amazing guy. He has definitely received death threats, and his daughter, his sister this week, I did mention that he'd been at the Vatican. So his sister had mass with the Vatican, the Pope this week in the Vatican. So that was a huge moment for both of them.
Huge. I saw the picture. It was just, that was pretty amazing. Yeah. So, not to give away too much of the book, but it's so fascinating. Can you tell us how he got involved? In
how Joseph got involved in the fight for freedom of religion.
Yeah,
so his
got to
sister
the
was
point where
accused
he
of,
would, where he was rescuing and all the things. Like, why does he do that?
Yeah, so his sister was accused of blasphemy about 15 years ago. And the most famous blasphemy case in Pakistan is that of Asia Bibi. So I think some people would have heard of Asia Bibi. And Asia Bibi got out of her cell after about a decade on death row and is now safely in Canada. But Joseph's sister ended up being in the same cell that Asia Bibi had been in. And so Joseph became an activist through that, and has worked mainly with the Catholic Church. So he escaped Pakistan and ended up being taken in by the Catholic Church.
Okay. Wow. Again, just miraculous that you shared an elevator, a lift with him. That's just I love that. Well, as I said, we're going to get to your questions here in a minute. So go ahead, and if any more questions that you have, or after Joseph's video, you had any questions up there, just go ahead and put them in the chat. But one more question for you first, Anna, before we jump to there. He rose the question of prayer, you know, and sometimes, you know, I know, at least here in America, you know, it can be, you know, all I can do is pray. But, you know, we know too, that's the most powerful thing. Can you talk a bit about how raising this awareness and prayer can make a tangible difference?
Yeah, I mean, prayer is such a privilege when we're part of the body of Christ, isn't it? That we can pray for different parts that maybe we can't actually go and visit or go and see. And he mentioned his sister then, who was alone in her cell. And these girls that I've written about, each of them is left alone as when they're taken prisoner. And they're just alone, and they do have amazing faith. They pray. All of them were still Christians. They haven't lost their faith because this has happened to them, which I feel like is what would happen to me. I mean, I would just question, what on earth is God doing if I was abducted?
It would be tempting, yeah.
Yeah. So they have this huge faith, but they are struggling, and so just please pray for them. And I think as well, pray that we can learn from their example, because Jesus said we would suffer, and they have so much to teach us really about that suffering, and their faith is so strong. And obviously there are material needs as well. I mean, Joseph isn't the only activist that I write about, but each of them is involved in various ministries, doing things in really difficult circumstances, and they need our help and provision to to pay for safe houses, to pay for lawyers, to just to meet basic needs really once these families have lost their jobs. So yeah, there's a huge amount. I mean, there's a huge opportunity for things that we can do to help, but certainly start by praying, because I think it ultimately comes down to God and his provision. He's able to open those floodgates and let things come in. So yeah,
Orchestrate things like the elevator even. Yeah. Right.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, he can do it all, right?
yeah, you can
He's
control
the
the buttons
power.
on the elevator.
Right. Right. All right. Well, thank you, Anna. Okay, so we have a couple of questions here. And if you're all good with it, and if my darling can, yeah, we're going to unmute folks. If you want to ask your own question, that would be awesome. We have a question from Armanda. Am I saying your name?
That's Dina.
Raimonda.
So that one's Dina.
Yeah. Do you want to unmute her, Todd?
Yeah, they can unmute themselves.
You can unmute yourself. We'd love to hear your question.
So,
Oh, there you are. Great.
can I ask my question?
Yes,
Yes, go ahead. Hi,
Hello,
Dina.
hello, Hannah. Hello, that is Jenny.
Yes.
I'm so happy to see Anna because I haven't seen you for such a long time, and I miss her so much.
Oh,
So I know a lot about her work. I just wanted to ask you, Anna, how long did it take to write that book? I mean, from the start until the end, I mean, did you have some kind of, I don't know, not hesitations, but, were you really sure about what you wanted to say? And, or did you wait to go to Pakistan just to write about those things? Well, I don't know if you understand my question.
Okay, no, I can answer. Yeah. So I think once that I'd written the introduction before going to the European Parliament. So that was in 2022, around about September. And then I went to the European Parliament, and that kind of just opened up the floodgates, and I had heaps then to write about. I wanted to write more about the UK. So if you get hold of the book, I do try to write about honour-based abuse and honour killings in the UK as well. And I tried to push some doors there, but they didn't really open. So I had to give up on that. And that was quite difficult at the time. But I kept getting stories from Pakistan. So that really became the main focus of the book. And then I finished the book in about November 24. And then it went to the publishers, and they weren't quite happy with it. So I had to write a couple more chapters then. And then by about January this year, January 2025, it was finally done. So about 2 years, 3 or 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks.
Great. Thank
you for your question.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. We have questions from Helen. Todd, if you can unmute Helen. Helen has 2 questions.
I haven't read these yet.
Yeah.
Thank you. Fascinating to hear from so many different people as well as yourself. First question, if it's in the book, then obviously don't answer it. But I'm intrigued as to what the Parliament's reaction was to Joseph, whether it was well received, whether he can or you have seen a change in policy since, or if these things take so long to work their way through.
Yeah, so in a sense, Joseph didn't really ask his question in the right setting, because this was the breakfast that we were at. And then what I didn't realize about the European Parliamentary prayer breakfast is actually it's about 2 or 3 days of events, and there's lunches, and they even go on a trip to a chateau. So I didn't know all this. I just went to the breakfast and this panel discussion. And then the night before they have a dinner. So I think it's a great sort of networking event, but all of these events cost money, which is why I only went to the panel discussion, which was free, and the breakfast. So when Joseph stood up, he caused a bit of a stir, but these folks on the stage were just there like presenting to Christians and letting them know about what was happening in the Parliament building. So I think they took it in, but it wasn't a setting where they could do anything. but I know other organisations that are lobbying for trade to be altered, and they do have differing views on it. So Joseph's view is that trade should be stopped with Pakistan because we should make them adhere to their human rights. But other organisations have the view that we need to work with Pakistan, and if we trade with them, then we can have some influence and enforce the human rights. So that difference of opinion is kind of ongoing, and other organisations are lobbying all the time for different aspects of the trade negotiations to be, to have different emphases, I guess.
And then again, it might be in the book, so don't give away too much, but as he was talking about the ladies need to be rescued and then they can't support themselves. I was thinking about your Women Without Roofs model, where that's what your charity does, is that you do provide in a different context, but women who, because they are just women without a man, can't support themselves. Would that type of model work in Pakistan?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I would love to do that, but there's these organisations doing that anyway. So Joseph has an organisation called Teach the Children, which funds this. So I'm trying to, when I've said like if you buy from me, then I can give a bit more money to these organisations. That's what I'm trying to do. At the moment, I don't feel like I need to be setting up another charity, but I would definitely like to be signposting my readers to giving to some of these other organisations who are doing a really incredible work. So Joseph is working at various levels, lobbying and also doing things on the ground. There's an organisation that I write about in the first chapter, the Cecil and Iris Chowdhury Foundation, and they work at the lobbying end of things and really have a lot of influence with politicians.
Oh, I think we might have frozen there for a second. Anna, did we freeze?
So they're essentially held as slaves. So there's heaps and heaps of opportunity. Yeah, I just sort of praying that the funds would come in, if you like.
So you froze just a little bit there at the end.
Yeah, I saw that. My internet's unstable.
Oh,
I haven't changed anything here.
Oh, no, you're fine. Could you just wrap up again, just the last bit you were talking about?
I think I was just saying that there's heaps of organisations who are doing different things in Pakistan. Did I say about the brick kilns? So I'm working with a pastor that goes into the brick kilns, and it's Christians who are enslaved in the brick kilns, but they don't actually know the gospel because they're illiterate. So they really, really have it the worst because they're persecuted for being Christians, but actually don't know God. So they're losing out. But this pastor goes in and shares the gospel with them.
Great, thank you. I think we got it there. We did lose Helen, so maybe there's something with the internet there. We have another question from Greg. Greg, do you want to unmute?
Mute.
Great.
Hi there.
Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Greg.
That's right. It's good. Nice to see you, Jenny and Anna. So our question, it's about, Anna, you're obviously raising something really important here. You're raising your head above the parapet. The blasphemy laws seem very serious. So do you actually feel like personally unsafe yourself because of what you're doing here?
Oh, a little bit of pause there. I bet she'll join us back.
No, you lost me then, didn't we?
Yeah, we did for a second, but yeah, go ahead. Did you hear his question?
Yeah, do I feel unsafe? I think it was.
Yeah.
Given the law of Pakistan, the actions and authorities, do you ever feel personally concerned about your own safety given you raising these issues? Oh no.
It went again, didn't it? I'll just answer while it's connected. No, I don't feel hugely unsafe.
Oh dear, bad internet.
Yes.
Into Pakistan.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry the internet's gone. It's worked fine till now.
So,
Did you get any of my answer?
No, go ahead.
only that you don't feel unsafe.
I feel safe. Yeah. I mean, there is a little bit of a risk that I might not get a visa if I was to go back there again. I suppose I could be on a list not to go in, but I do feel safe there. And the Christians there are so bold. I'm trying to take my cues from them. I mean, Joseph is just so bold. He doesn't worry about where he goes or what he does, and he has received death threats. And maybe he's being a bit foolish, but I just feel like I need to be brave. I don't want to give in to their threats, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I feel older now. I feel safer now I'm older.
Does come with age sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Let's
Right.
take a few risks.
Yeah, right. Does that answer your question, Greg? Yeah. Okay. Oh, Anna, I was wondering, with that, maybe could you talk a little bit about your trip to Pakistan and, in relation to that, how did you feel while you were there, safety-wise, and just the considerations there when you were traveling?
Yeah, so I went to Lahore, which is in Punjab, and Punjab is the main area where these abductions take place. And Lahore is just beautiful. I mean, I kind of knew that there was Mughal architecture, and I first encountered Mughal architecture when I was 20, because I went out to India. It's the same architecture as in Delhi. And it's just stunning. It's such a beautiful place to visit, and tourists could easily go there. If it didn't have such a reputation for being a bad place to go on people's watch lists and everything, then I think it would get heaps of tourists. And the people are just so friendly and lovely. But I did see all levels of society, really. So this organization I mentioned that's working at the lobbying at the parliamentary level, they are very well-to-do Pakistanis, very well educated, speak better English than me, if you like. And just amazing, the standard of their living. And then I went in with this pastor into the brick kilns, and that really was pretty shocking. And I feel, having lived in Nepal and worked with women there for 20 years, I've seen a fair bit of poverty and deprivation, but this really was visiting slaves. There were young children working in the brick kilns, helping to make the bricks. They weren't able to go to school. It was just, really, really shocking. But I don't have time to share it now, but still more miracles were occurring. People were being rescued out of slavery, and this pastor was so brave in doing that. So I would say, go, take a risk and go to Pakistan. There's incredible Christians there who would love to show people around. The country needs tourists, it needs some input. And I suppose I'm in that first camp, unlike Joseph, I suppose, where I feel like we can use our influence and use our example and ourselves to make a difference, and not just to cut off these places. But obviously it's a lot more complicated than those two options, but somewhere in the middle, I would end up being.
Awesome. Well, we are going to play our last video here in a second. And I'll have you introduce that. But before we do, is there anything else, Anna, that you wanted to kind of make sure you share or wrap up with us before we go?
Oh, I think I'm speaking after this video. So shall I just explain the video?
Sure, you can
Yeah,
go ahead.
so
I
this
didn't know if there
pastor-
was a question that wasn't asked that you wanted to answer. That's all.
Sorry, say that again.
I said I just didn't know if there was anything else you wanted to share, any question that wasn't asked that you wanted to
No,
answer.
they've got to read the book.
Okay. There you go. Yeah, go ahead.
So,
and introduce.
Yeah, so this pastor that I've mentioned that goes into the brick kilns, we're good friends now, and his wife and daughter in their prayer group, I asked them to record a prayer for the book, and that's what you're about to see. So the introduction's in English, and then they pray in Urdu for about 2 minutes for the book, and you'll see it's real Pakistani women praying for this book and the impact that it will have. So please, as you're listening to them, it is in Urdu, so none of us will be able to understand it, but please just close your eyes and pray your own prayer for the book and for these women. I guess we'll watch it.